10,000 people turn 65 each day. That's more than 3.6 million each year. Need another overwhelming number? That total will double in the next 20 years. As we all continue to age, we'll need options for care, and many of us will want to stay in our home sweet home. Paul Burke is here to identify the important factors to consider for in-home care. Paul is the co-owner of Comfort Keepers in Beechwood and in Westlake. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Even though everybody's getting older every day, it just seems like the need for care and support kind of surprise people.
You're right, it does surprise people. Usually it happens when someone has a chronic illness or an accident. So it's the #1 cause for hospitalization among seniors. So you'll have a hospital stay, and from that time you'll go to rehab, and then where do you go? You're going to come home eventually. So you better be prepared to come home. So at some point you're going to need home care.
Or if your spouse passes away and now you're home alone?
Exactly. Second reason is that the death of a spouse. That could be your caregiver at home. So what if you come home and there's no caregiver there? Or you could have been the caregiver. You could be married for 50 or 60 years, and now you don't have that social interaction.
Right.
So now you're in isolation. So what are you going to do? You're going to need some help.
Yep. And you talk about interactive care as the model for home care. So what does that exactly mean?
Well, interactive care generally has 4 components to it. Be personal care, it would be nutrition, it would be cognitive well-being, and personal safety.
Okay, well let's talk about each one of them, starting with personal care.
Well, personal care is if someone needs attention to themselves personally. They need to be bathed or they need to be groomed. Or if they're in good health, it's their physical well-being. So we need to keep people active, ambulatory, exercised, walked. If they can't walk, can they do exercises in their chair, range of motion exercises?
Okay. How about cognitive well-being?
Well, cognitive well-being is just as important as the physical well-being because they go hand in hand. So cognitive well-being is keeping someone engaged with their mind. So keeping them engaged in activities that they do on a daily basis. So maybe they like to play cards, they like to knit, they like to garden. So keeping them socialized in those activities as well.
Okay, sounds good. How about personal in-home safety?
Well, personal in-home safety goes back to the #1 reason why seniors get hospitalized, which is due to falls. So we know that there's going to be an opportunity for falls at home, so we want to minimize that risk. So we look at a personal home assessment. So what are tripping hazards are there in the home? What fall risks are there in the home? And we want to remove all these risks or hazards to make sure that our senior at home is safe so they can age in place.
Okay, and the last one is nutrition, which kind of seems obvious, but a lack of good nutrition can really cause a lot of problems, right?
Well, we know the #1 reason for hospitalization is falls or chronic illness. The #2 reason is improper malnutrition. So nutrition is very key. Because seniors live in isolation, they tend not to eat properly because eating is a highly social event. So picture your mom or your dad and one of them is gone and now someone just loses the will to eat. There's no one to prepare a meal for anymore. So they just start to eat less and less and less. So when they're not eating properly, they're also not hydrating themselves correctly. And now we have an issue with cognitive well-being or a lack of cognitivity, and we have a problem with medication management for medication to be processed correctly.
Yeah, a lot of things to consider for at-home care.
Lots of things to consider.
All right. Home care is a great option if you need assistance and you want to age in place, but you need to be sure all of your needs are included in that care. My thanks to Paul Burke for adding up the areas we need to count on when we're counting on staying in our home as we get older.
For more information, call Comfort Keepers in Beechwood at 216-595-3681 or visit www.beechwood-257.comfortkeepers.com. Next.